y'all, welcome back to MamaFin's Kitchen. It's Monday night, it's the beginning of a new work week, and if your Mondays are anything like mine, cuckoo crazy busy with meetings and things like that. So I always look for some things that I can put together for supper very quickly on a Monday night. So that's exactly what we're gonna do tonight, and it's starting to turn a little bit cooler out. I'm not sure, depending on where you're at in the country, it may or may not be getting cool for you yet, but here in Kansas, it's starting to get cool. It's been great fire pit weather in the evenings. Friday nights, we have Fire Pit Fridays, and it's been really nice to have some cool weather coming our way. But cool weather always makes me think about soup. And this is one of my favorites. This is a pressure cooker loaded baked potato soup. Comes together pretty fast and cooks in a jiffy as well, but it's hearty and warm. And if you really want to carb up, serve it in a bread bowl and you can just carb if you really want some good comfort food. But this is a great kind of loaded baked potato soup that we'll do in our pressure cooker, handy dandy little electronic pressure cooker. And let's get started. So your cast of characters that you're going to need for this is I want you to get 4 large russet potatoes, large baking type potatoes. Get 4 of those that are good sized. Then I want you to get, you'll need some water, about 1.5 cups of just water. You're going to want what we call better than bouillon. I like it better than bouillon cubes, but this better than bouillon is kind of a paste. I'll show you what it looks like on the inside here, but it's kind of a paste. And it will add a nice richness to your soup. So we'll use some of this as well. You can find it in the aisle with the soups and with the kind of the bouillon cubes and things like that. With your chicken stock, it's usually right there in the same section, probably on the top shelf. It's a little more expensive, but it'll last you a while. Once you open it, you just stick it in the fridge and refrigerate it, and it will last quite a long time. So worth the money. So get the better than bouillon, and then you'll want some salt, some pepper, and then you're also going to want about 8 ounces of cheddar cheese. And tonight in my fridge, I had some Colby Jack marble cheese, so that's what we're going to use in this one. You'll want some sour cream, about 1 cup of sour cream, and then you're going to want some bacon that's sliced and crumbled, and then, or not sliced, but sliced bacon that you've cooked and crumbled. There you go. It has been a Monday. And then you want some green onions or some chives. If you don't have chives in your local grocery store, like in the little herb section where they hang them like this kind of thing, a lot of the grocery stores now have these little containers of chives. These are lightly dried, but they're fantastic. You can open them and stick it in your refrigerator. They're not completely dried, but they're partially dried, and they'll rehydrate very quickly when you put them into soups and things like that. So I love to kind of keep these on hand because I don't always have this, and these don't last so long in your refrigerator once you buy them. You really got to use them pretty quick. But this you can get and put in your refrigerator and it'll last 4 or 5 weeks, something like that, in your refrigerator. So it's really handy to have these on hand. You're also going to want about 1 to 2 cups of milk. The other thing you can do is, like I said, you're going to want 1 to 1.5 cups of water for this. If you want to add a little bit more richness to your soup, you can use chicken stock if you'd like in place of the water, or partially replacing the water as well. So that's kind of up to you, but you can use part water, part chicken broth if you just want it to be a little bit more savory. Really amps up the flavor for you. So we're going to get started, but that's your cast of characters. Okay, kids. Before we dice up our potatoes and peel our potatoes, I want you to go ahead and start your pressure cooker and get it heating up. We're going to set it on pressure cook, and we want it at, we'll do a custom setting on this particular machine. We want it high pressure, and we're going to set it for 7 minutes. So I want you to turn your time down to 7 minutes. And let it go ahead and start its preheating cycle. This will help you to have a lot less time for it to come to pressure as it's heating up. So at the same time, while it's heating, the other thing I want you to do is, while it's heating up, go ahead and put your water and your chicken broth, your combination, your 1.5 cups, down into that cooker. Make sure that your insert is in it before you put any liquid in. Just as always, we don't want to put any liquids down inside our machine and ruin it. But go ahead and put your liquid down in there so it can start to get warm too while you're dicing up your potatoes, and it will save you some time coming up to pressure. But I used, in my particular instance, I used 3/4 cup of chicken broth, low sodium chicken broth, and I used 3/4 cup of water. Okay, so we have peeled and diced our potatoes, and I want you to see that they're kind of nice little bite-sized pieces. Just a nice dice. Try to keep them as even as you can for cooking. But you can also see that while we were peeling and dicing over here, our chicken broth was getting nice and hot, and it's coming to, and our water and chicken broth together has come to a nice boil, and it's boiling over here. So before we put our potatoes in, I want you to go ahead and get your better than bouillon, and you're going to use about a teaspoon of that down into the pot, and you're just basically adding additional flavor. So just put about a teaspoon of that down into the pot. Stir it and get it nice and melted down in there. Delicious. And then I want you to put about a teaspoon of salt down in there, and a teaspoon of black pepper. And you heard the growl in the background. That's my Bohannon. That's my puppy dog. He's very upset because I have browned off some bacon and I'm not sharing. So he's a little upset. He's laying over just off camera where you can't see him, and he's not very happy with me. So we're gonna go ahead and put our potatoes in here. Be careful, don't burn yourself when that splashes. So go ahead and put your potatoes down in. Already smells delicious. And as you can see, that's not a ton of liquid down inside that pot. And that's fine. We don't need a tremendous amount of liquid to cook these potatoes. So just give it a nice little stir there. And then we're gonna put the lid on our pressure cooker. Make sure that it's set to your sealing position. And we're gonna let that come up to pressure. And once it comes up to pressure, this little nozzle right here, this little pin will pop up once it's come to pressure, and it will beep and it will start its cooking time of the 7 minutes, and we're gonna let it do its thing. While we are cooking in our pressure cooker, the other thing I want you to do while that's happening is go ahead and brown off your bacon if you haven't done it already. Dice up your chives or green onions, whichever of those that you're using, and go ahead and grate your cheese. So go ahead and get that done while the potatoes are cooking, and that way you'll be all ready to go. Okay? Okay friends, so our machine just beeped and our time is complete on our cook time over here on our pressure cooker. So we're going to release the pressure on this machine now. We want to go ahead and move it to the venting position, and just be really careful. Watch here at the top. Be careful because it will shoot the steam here at the top of the machine. So just be careful and keep your hands and face and cabinets away from that section. We don't want you to burn yourself or anything like that. So go ahead and move that to the venting. And once our pin drops right here, we'll be able to open this lid. It will not let us open that lid for a safety feature until this little pin drops. So just wait until that, be patient, and let all the steam escape and all the pressure escape out of your machine until this little pin drops. That's usually the hardest part, is waiting for that pin to drop. We're getting close. He's not hissing very much, and we'll see. Yep, there it is. So our pin drops, we're going to open the lid. Be very careful when opening this lid to tip it slightly down into your machine to let any of the water drip off down into your machine. Now this particular machine has holes in the lid right here on the side to hold the lid, just like that. So, but I'm going to move it so it doesn't get in the way of you seeing what I'm going to do here. So we've got our soup. Our potatoes are in here, as you can see, with that little bit of liquid that's left. What I want you to do is go ahead and add your milk down in here. And we're gonna add our sour cream. That cup of sour cream down in there. Give it a nice stir. Then we're gonna take our cheese that we grated earlier and put most of it down there. Leave yourself a little bit to garnish the top of your soup with. Go ahead and stir your cheese down in. Get that nice and melted down in there. And if you find that you're too thick, you can add a little bit more milk. But that's looking pretty good. So we're gonna let this melt that cheese in there. And we're gonna take some of our chives, sprinkle down in there. Or green onions, whichever that you chose to use. I'm gonna use a combination of those freeze-dried ones and the fresh ones. That's looking fantastic. See how that's beginning to mimic a baked potato with the cheese and the sour cream. And what I like to do is, so that it's a little bit thicker, has a little bit more texture, if you take a potato masher and just give it like 1 or 2, 3 little mashes, you'll mash up a few of those potatoes, but not all of them. I still want it nice and chunky to be like a nice potato soup. But I do like to smash just a few of them kind of in there a little bit. Gives it a little creamy, smooth texture. It just adds a little bit more. And you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I do think it's kind of nice. So, stir those in. And then grab your bacon that you had off to the side. And we're gonna dish this up. Okay, y'all, I grabbed a clear bowl just because I want you to be able to see this soup when I dish this up. But we're gonna scoop up just a little bit of ladle here. I don't normally eat soup out of something quite so pretty, but I want you to be able to see all of the beautifulness that is this soup. So, get your soup into a bowl. It's got nice chunks of potatoes. And that cheese down in there, I'm telling you, nice and hearty. But when you go to serve it, take some of that bacon that you fried up and crumbled up, and I want you to put a little bit of it on top. Sprinkle that on top of your soup, and take a little bit of that cheese that you reserved, sprinkle that on too. Another slice of bacon right on top. And then if you kept like maybe 1 or 2 big long chives, then you can just take and top your soup. Makes it really beautiful. You can see there. Kind of a little fancier for your family. Just because it's hearty and comforting doesn't mean that it can't be pretty too. So get that for your family, and then let's give it a whirl. Give it a taste. See if it needs any more salt or pepper or anything like that. But be careful, it's wicked hot. That's really good. Creamy from that sour cream and the cheese melting in there. A little bit of crunch from the bacon on top and the chives. But the warmth and deliciousness of something warm and hearty on kind of a cold or cool fall evening, and even into winter. This will take you right into winter. And I'll tell you that this really does keep well. Just leave the bacon off the top, and you can refrigerate the soup. You can add the bacon, just keep it in your refrigerator, like in a Ziploc bag, and then you can top the bacon on top, some extra cheese on top. But this reheats really well, so if you want to make it on a Sunday and then have it for lunches during the week or something like that while you're working from home, if you're still working from home, it works really well. So this came together really, really quick. It takes maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes or less, something like that, and you'll have supper on the table for your family. Again, like I said, if you really want to carb up, go ahead and serve this in a bread bowl like you do at Panera. I mean, you can have carbs on top of carbs on top of carbs, and it's really delicious. I mean, who doesn't love carbs? I love carbs. They don't really like me and my hips very well. But anywho, thanks for joining me in Mama Fin's kitchen. Hit the subscribe button down there in the corner if you like what you see. And you can find the full recipe on my blog at lfinson.blogspot.com. I thank you very much for coming back to Mama Fin's kitchen. Y'all take care, stay healthy, stay well, take care of one another, love one another, be kind to one another, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.